everybody. I am Afro Kitty from Mancatchin, Poughkeepsie, Catlanta. Would you just look at what the cat has drug in? I am here with the beautiful Broadway diva and burgeoning pop star, Hailee Kaleem Wright. How are you today, beloved?
I'm so good. I'm so grateful. Thank you for having me. Kitty cat, cat.
Okay. It's wonderful to be here with you. I saw Moulin Rouge last week with you in it. And so I have like a couple of questions. Let's start off with Moulin Rouge and then we'll go all the other places. All right. So the show is like this glittery, like just really glittery, festive, like burlesque adjacent, poppy, like jukebox musical moment. But underneath that, I feel like you guys are exploring some really, really like serious themes. I mean, you're touching on capitalism, you're touching on like the survival of small businesses, you're touching on sex work, you're touching on poverty, you're even touching on serious illness. I mean, like you're also touching on like being trauma bonded with friends and like co-creators and all of this sort of stuff. And I'm just wondering, like, for you as the actor, how are you balancing the camp and the glamour and the humor with the reality of those circumstances when you're going up as a teen?
Wow. I love that you brought all of that up because I feel like it goes over people's heads because of how gorgeous the show is. They kind of miss that part or don't realize that that's what they're getting into until they're in the middle of Act 2 and you're like, oh, this is a little deeper than I thought it was going to be. I think that was something that I really dove into with my acting coach, Jen Waldman. We really went through that script and combed through it and we talked through all of those nuances and what that informs about Satine, right? And how she reacts to certain things or why she's making the decisions that she's making. They're not just flippant decisions. They're all rooted in truth. And it is those elements that you brought up that are more grounded than just beautiful costumes and great lights. It's like, no, this is a human being trying to make it through the world, suffering through silently suffering and trying to make it work while being selfless for the people she loves. And so I bring all of that with me and kind of drop those little, I feel like little droppers, like little dollops along the way, while also keeping it light in the moments where it should be. And I also feel like they're quick scenes between songs in the show, so it's not a lot of time to give all of that, backstory in the scene. So you have to really just know that it's happening. And I think sometimes as the actor, just having that level of knowledge and DNA of the character and what circumstances are can actually do a lot without having to say a lot or showcase a lot. It's just me knowing what I'm in as a teen and going through as a teen, what the other characters may or may not be up against allows me to kind of portray it without having to be too on the nose.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you are obviously a Black woman, and Satine is not originally written, or she doesn't normally go up in the vein of a Black woman. So I'm wondering for you, how does that change or inform the show? Because it makes the circumstances in my mind, seeing you do it, so much realer. Like I'm seeing the anthropology of the show in a way that I don't think I would see as a Black viewer watching a Black actress play Satine. And you've also been involved in the show playing other things. So I'm really curious about that part, like just for you.
Right.
Does it feel different?
Oh my gosh. Well, for me, I only play Satine. I haven't done any other characters in the show before. So Satine's my girl. Yeah. And so
I thought you were swinging and playing all this
stuff. No.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, just Satine. So that's been such it was a nuanced process for me coming into the role because of Nicole Kidman being the face of Satine from the movie, who we all know and love, with her beautiful gowns and wigs. And I also saw, some of the other actresses that had played the role full time before. And there was only one other Black girl that I had seen in the role at the time. And so it kind of was like, well, I don't even know if I'm the right fit for this because I don't see myself, you know? So as I was getting ready to audition, I was like, they're either gonna like what I'm doing or they're not, because I'm not seeing anyone that looks like me on the stage and bringing my level of, my experience in being Black on the character, in the character. So I think for me, it was a big intention to be as authentic as possible with my comedy. I think that's where my Blackness always shows the most, is in my joy, because Black people are naturally joyous, and many sad occasion or a time where you think you would be off to the side in a ball, laughing and making fun of what we can, and keeping moving on. And so I think that I bring that a lot in the role of just like constantly adding the dollops of, you know, my Black femininity into the space at all times. And I have an amazing time doing it. It's really fun.
That makes a lot of sense. And on the subject of Blackness, right now the cast is very Black. You know, you got Brady up, you've got Tay Diggs up. How does that change the show? And I'm also just curious, being in a show in which there has been turnover, and you know, we're doing this on Wednesday, but we're doing something different on Thursday, and this new actor is coming in and you're authenticating new chemistry. I'm just wondering, process-wise, what that's like for you on Broadway.
Yeah.
Because I imagine that there's a certain consistency that you've got to have in a musical, because you got to hit the cue. It's not like a straight play. Where, if somebody kind of goes off, whatever, you know?
Yeah, because there's
what's that like when it's...
Yeah, there's lighting cues, there's pit cues, there's sound cues, there's so much writing on making sure you land where you're supposed to land.
Yeah.
It is one of the things that I was the most surprised by in this process. I haven't been in a long-running show like this before, and I've never been in like a revolving door of new actors in multiple different parts, and the amount of understudies and swings that also go on. So
yeah.
I find it really stimulating as an actor, because even though we're doing the same show, it's always with new people, and therefore the show is different. It's not so different, obviously, you know, we keep to what the book allows us to do, but I think that one of the things I really enjoy about how Moulin Rouge operates, and being a legacy show at this point now, 5 years in, almost actually 6 years in, is that the creative teams have allowed us to infuse ourselves into the roles and to make choices, you know, to not have to do what KO or Aaron Tveit or whoever, you know, did back 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Right.
Appreciate that immensely, because it's been amazing to work with titans of the stage. I mean, I've literally worked with the original Christian Aaron Tveit. I worked just recently with Jordan Fisher. And then before I had John Cardoza, you know, these leading men of Broadway who are so different, you know, and they're all playing the same role, and we're having the same love story, but it happens in different ways, you know, because of this opportunity to work with all these different souls. So it's been really, really fun to see how my Satine shifts based on the Christian that I have. Like my Satine with Jordan was so silly. Like you came to that show, and beyond the parts that are deeper, like you were cackling because we were dumb the entire time. We had the entire time on and off stage. And then, you know, my show with John was like so I feel like it was so like fiery and sophisticated and charming and elusive and very secretive. You know, it wasn't this. You didn't know how the story was going to end necessarily. You know, you know. So I just find that I shift a lot, and I learn a lot, even more about Satine when I'm experiencing a different Christian, and that's really cool. And same for the different Dukes or the different Ziedlers. You know, me and Wayne have so much fun because he's a comedian, and I grew up watching him and Raven Simone and other comedians that I loved, and I'm a big SNL Mad TV geek. And so I find, again, like I said, I'm always infusing things with comedy. And so when you're working with a real fucking legend in comedy, it just allows you to continue to build off of that and run with it, and and each other. And so yeah, it's a constant muscle tightening for me and flex for me. So I've been in this role almost 2 years now, and I don't even feel like it. It feels like no time has passed at all.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I have to tell you, I had this reaction when I saw the show last week because I guess the Duke character was being played by, it wasn't that Tay Diggs is covering that track.
Yeah.
Tay wasn't up, and it was, I guess, a white Duke. But then there is your video.
Sorry, I got a phone call. My bad.
Okay, there we are. All right. So when I saw it last week, Tay wasn't up, so the Duke was white, but Ziegler, or I guess the club owner, was Wayne. It was black, and then there's a black Satine. And the visceral reaction that I had to this white man telling this black club owner, "I'm taking over your stuff, and I own you," and y'all are. It felt so charged. It's so racist. It's so upsetting. Although I know that it's not necessarily the intention of the writing. Did you feel that too, or do those things come up for you? Where you feel a different maybe protectiveness when it's this Ziegler, or does that come up at all?
It's so funny that you mentioned this because I do feel like because of the different iterations that I kind of forget that like nuance a little bit of like, you own, especially own, because that sentence comes up about 3 or 4 times.
Yes.
So for 2 different black characters, if I'm playing the role, and then you have Lautrec. Now you have to understand too, originally, at least how it was cast, for the first 2 years was white Ziegler, white Duke, white Satine, right? So I know they didn't necessarily write it to be that way, but there's always been a black Lautrec, and that line has always been to refer to Lautrec, that I own you and the da 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 da, right? So I do think that it's not missed on me at all, but I think now in the world of Moulin Rouge and knowing the play inside and out, it is something that is like, yeah, damn, it does hit different. Words hit differently based on who is saying them and who's receiving them. It's it's a great reminder in this conversation about that. Next Sunday I'm on, so
play with it, darling. Yes, because I gagged, and the young lady I was with is also black, when we both had a visceral like, did we just? And I think also the interesting thing is, as a black audience member, when I see you or Wayne, or just in general, there's a certain protectiveness that I feel for us. And there's a love that I feel for us, and I never want to see us mistreated. And also there's a sensitivity, because I think we see so much trauma porn, just generally speaking, and we see so much sort of, I don't know, sensationalizing of Black people being at a disadvantage. And it was very fascinating in this beautiful theater with this fabulous set, wonderful, in the words of Aretha, great gowns, beautiful gowns. For that to sort of come up and to be aware, this was a part of the show when it was all white. Maybe it hit different. Because y'all.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to ask you a little bit about yourself. Like, how did you end up on Broadway? Because I think that you were sort of, recording artist. Tell us a little bit more about your journey that led you to where you are today.
I'll say this. Broadway found me. And I feel like my mom was always at the forefront of saying that would happen. She'd be like, you may not want Broadway, but Broadway's going to want you. And I don't know what that means, but okay, okay, girl. And it did make itself to be true. I think that for me personally, I feel that if Hamilton was never made and was never the sensation that it is, I don't think that I would have had the career that I've been made to have on Broadway, just because I saw how there was a seismic shift and what I was able to go in for, how I was being looked at of availability to lead a show or be up for at least understudying a lead character. Like, things were just really shifting very fast because of the popularity of Hamilton and seeing you know, multiracial, meaning all the Peggy, Skylar, right, you know, the sisters, seeing these different women play these leading lady roles, it shifted like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's cool. That's in. And now all of a sudden I'm noticing what's taking place, you know, for my career. So I have to give a big shout out to Living Well and everybody from the Hamilton side, because they really did help a lot of Black folks and people of color out in this business, by just being bold and making it happen. I'll say that when, you know, I was 18, I came to New York, got a record deal really, really fast, and was working night and day in the studio for 6 months straight, locked in the studio, working, writing for other people, working with artists like Jill Scott. I got the chance to work briefly with her, and they were working for an artist who was supposed to be like the next Michael Jackson. I believe he's the one doing the movie. I don't know if I'm right about that, but we were working a lot at that time, and I was really, really young, and I was just determined, and I had a lot of obstacles that I was overcoming while trying to make this dream happen that already comes with a lot of obstacles. When the music didn't work out and the label didn't work out, I was really understanding a part of myself that did not want to work a regular job. And I really had been bit by the bug of creativity and like doing that for a living, but I didn't know how to do that past what I saw for myself in the record industry. And I'm so grateful that, you know, I was in a position to have a supportive parent, my mom, who is a performer herself. And she was like, hey, I signed you up for this audition for Universal Studios Japan. And it was the last audition I did before I left New York. Like officially, I was like done, and booked that, changed my life, went over to, you know, Japan, and was in a theater show there and some other things. And I came back, and I was like, I did a cruise ship, left, came back. I was like, okay, I don't want to do a cruise ship again. I don't want to do a theme park again. I guess I should just try to go to Broadway. I guess that's the next viable option. And I asked everyone that I knew. Shout out to Kimberly Exum, who is another Black theater girl who just did not gatekeep with me, helped me get, you know, in the right rooms to get an agent, and, you know, just sisterly love for real, and out for me. And I got my agent, and before I knew it, I was in auditions for Broadway shows. And the reason why I go back to the Hamilton thing was that if we really look at time, the only shows that were available for me to really go into were Book of Mormon and The Lion King.
That's true. 2016 was quite a year on Broadway, because I think that was Hamilton, Shuffle Along. Lupita had a show.
Big season. It was
it was
Black season.
Much. The Color Purple went back up that year.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true.
So I'm coming back from the cruise ship around 2017, 2018. So it was just so crazy, you know, how it went from Book of Mormon and Lion King, which are beautiful shows and are long-running shows, but, you know, those are the only ones for Black folks.
Right.
Now I'm going, you know, now a lot of original works are being greenlit, and I'm, you know, I was able to have an option, or, you know, and I left the Lion King audition, and I was not happy with how it went, because there was some racist ISH that happened. And I said, okay, I think I want to go and originate shows. And so that also really kind of got me very specific on what I wanted to do. And I was able to do a show called The Black Clown, which we brought off Broadway to Lincoln Center, and then subsequently did Paradise Square. And Paradise Square, after the pandemic, came to reopen Broadway, and I was in the ensemble of that show.
That's such a beautiful journey. And I love to hear it. I feel like I'm really curious, has being on Broadway these past few years changed your artistry as a solo artist? As a musician and as a performer, has it changed, and how has it changed?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that I have such a real understanding of what it is to perform with a live band every single night. I've been on Broadway for the last 4 years. 5 years. 2021, 4 years in a row. And I've been able to sing and dance on a stage. I mean, with Six, the band is on the stage with us. Had inner ears and handheld mics and really living that pop star life.
Right.
And I learned what it is to ebb and flow with track and a live band. And then with, you know, Moulin Rouge, this is an all pop show. And it allows me to really anchor into what makes a hit song, which is obviously melody, structure, lyrical structure, and repetitiveness, and then what you lock into. And so, but also hearing how Justin Levine has so brilliantly made this score so unique to its own. It is not just sing the song and done. There are so many songs. I think it's 80 songs interwoven into the score. It's incredible, you know, and there's stuff that I still hear to this day. I went down to the pit and hung out with the musicians and was getting my life. Like, yes. I was like, yo, y'all are cutting up. Like, so I just have I've had a upfront seat to real musicians and live music in a way that, and pop musicals that has just really been so informative of how I want to sing on my own music. So even as I'm going back into the studio for my next iteration of music coming out, it's like, I'm like, yeah, I want to sing.
Yes.
The note, I want to belt, I want to, you know, lean into what I
absolutely. I love that. You hit on something so interesting that I had a thought about. You have the Six is basically a pop concert. Right. I mean, like, and Moulin Rouge feels like that in many ways, except there is such elaborate staging and there's way more music. Does that feel kismet to you? Like, do you feel like I don't know how witchy you are, but I'm very spiritual. Do you think that like you manifested that and that it is like a training ground for bigger things? Or
yeah,
because it feels to me when I think about you, when I look at this trajectory, it feels like a setup to keep going.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I love that. And I love to see it because it feels so good to see people living their dreams. And I don't know exactly, I'm not in your head, but baby, when I saw you come down from that ceiling dripped and the crystals, I was like, Mother is she's living, and I love to see it. You know what I mean?
I'm a very glitz and glamour kind of girl. I do love a good rhinestone and some sparkles. I'm a sucker for it. I'm such a girly girl. And I think one of the biggest things when I was really trying to traverse my own obstacles in my life, I really wanted to tap into divine femininity. And I think that both of the bigger shows that I've, you know, that were really a trampoline for me, I feel like have allowed me to tap into that a lot. And I'm very grateful. If I were to flip my camera around right now, you would see I have these portraits of Grace Jones, Phyllis Hyman, Dorothy Dandridge, Lena Horne, Lola Falana, Eartha Kitt, The Supremes. I have all of these Black iconic fundamental icons to what shaped a pop star, what shaped the idolization of grace, beauty, and things to be desired.
Yes.
You know, and so I have a picture of myself in the midst of all of these, and in one of my shows that I did, the Black Cloud, where I was dressed in I believe her name is Joy. Is it Joy Bryant or Joy Bryan? I'll have to look up, and I'll show you a comparison of the dresses that Carlos Soto's, the costume designer for Black Clown, remade, a replica of this dress that she wore that was photographed in a collection piece of upcoming Harlem Renaissance icons. And I also think that's a part of my trajectory too, of divine femininity and timing. And I am a big believer in manifesting and writing things down and visualizing yourself and in situations. And I think what you saw is the realization of those visualizations and that manifestation, because I would, when I was auditioning, pretend to be coming down the swing in the costume and feeling the lights. And so who would I be if not to have that moment and not live?
Yes. It felt so good to see, and I love it. And I think that I love that you brought up the glamour piece, because I have a thought about that. But you keep going with it, because I think that right now a lot of the concept of glamour is, for Black women, is attached to hypersexualization.
Yeah.
We've lost a lot of the softness and the beauty for beauty's sake, and also that internal light that emanates, even though the beat is beating and the hair is hair. You know, there's still a grace and a poise that I hate to see starting to dwindle. Yeah. And I think that you have a beautiful opportunity. I mean, be all the things if you want to be sexy and stuff, or raunchy. I'm not telling you not to. I think I'm picking up what you're laying down, and I like it.
Yeah, thank you.
So I want to ask you about this. What is your relationship with glamour, cosmetics, fashion, and beauty as it's painted on or dressed in the context of playing a character like Satine versus showing up saying for like a solo show? Your own version of that versus like how you want to present on a regular day. Do you think that consistently being on a schedule in which being dolled up is a part of the job? Can that exacerbate insecurity? Does it make you feel more beautiful? Is there a complicated or a nuanced relationship that happens when the job requires, girl, you got to look like this?
Right.
You know?
It's a good question. I don't know. I feel like for me, image has always been attached to stardom. And it's not just for women. You know, I think of David Bowie, and, you know, he had a brand and an image that was very distinct and stood out for him, or the Beatles, who were, you know, very avant-garde for growing their hair out, or, you know, I think about Mick Jagger, you know, and deciding, like, I'm specifically pointing out men for a reason, because I think that it could be very easy to just look at imaging and branding from just or beauty for just the female side. But I think there's pressures in our industry at all just to always, not even want to say look your best, but look identifiable, you know, to get a sense of a brand from a human being and what that means. And it's tied to your image. That's the number, that's where you start. And then you can listen to the music, and then you're like, oh, okay, that's a part of it. And then you go to the concert and you're like, oh, that's a part of it. But it starts with your image. And so I don't find any extra pressure on it. I think for me, I love, like I said, I love beauty. I love glam. I love to put extra time into that. And I think that it was probably the part that actually was like the most effortless part, is the glam, because I know that so well and I love it so much. So maybe for a girl who's less like into makeup and hair, maybe that would be more tough. But I just like, yeah, that's part of the gig. And of course I'm there. Like, I just came from 6 where I was in fucking drag every night, you know, down to the nails, honey. Like I had the blinged out long nails. Like, you know, you could have caught me in a little something like you got on, and you know, like it's so me. And I really grew up in a Tyra Banks, America's Next Top Model, idol, glam focused world as a young girl. So I also feel like, you know, what's important to me has always been to, like, H to T is fine, and you know, you find your light, and you know what I'm saying? So these things I feel just emote from me, because that's just what I was stewed in as a young buck.
Right. I love that. I love that it's a positive relationship with it, and that it's a source of joy instead of like Ball and chain, like, oh, I've got to do this.
No, and I also have to give a huge shout out to drag culture, because I feel like with watching RuPaul, I remember watching the first season of RuPaul's Drag Race with my mama, and we had a ball. And it's so funny because they were so glamorous to us. Now we go back and look at the back, you're like, oh,
put more coconut oil on the lid.
Rub it on the lids, girl. Rub it on the lids. But it was so glamorous, and it was another type of glamour that I really fell in love with, and creativity that I got to fall in love with through drag culture, showing another side of glam, and again, kind of crossing the gender norm or the gender lines to show that this is stardom or beauty or fame or performance in another category, and this is what's required. You got to tuck and tape and get the glue and put, so I
together.
Yeah.
I love that. I adore that. And it's so refreshing to hear, because I do think that there's often such a negative, almost, it's so funny to say this, but I feel like so much of the discourse about glamour and beauty is from we don't want to feel forced. We don't want to feel oppressed. We want to be more natural. And I think that it's a valid conversation to have, but I think it's also really beautiful to see somebody that's like, no, it's fun. It's a joy. It's festive.
Yeah.
Because it is,
I'm a more is more kind of girl. Like I'm an OG like Jackie Aina fan. Like,
yeah.
Pop culture references for me are just so glam that it's like, duh. Like but I respect, if you don't want to wear makeup, I think we all have to kind of give each other grace and like what I might have found to be really exciting and explore and allow me to explore parts of myself. Someone might have really felt like, I don't know, like ashamed of. Also, I have to really give a big shout out to my family. I come from a family of beauticians, makeup artists, hairstylists. So that's also another extension of me. My grandmother had one of the biggest salons in Houston before headliners came up in there. And my uncle was doing Grace Jones and Phyllis Hyman and Eartha Kitt's hair back in.
Gosh,
so
cool.
It's like, it's really in my DNA. Like I cut and color my own hair. You know what I'm saying? Like I do my own lash extensions and tint my brows. Like it's just it's so me.
I love that. Love it. So we've been talking about, it feels like your career, there is a certain amount of really lovely wish fulfillment that is happening and that happens. And I'm just really wondering, if your like inner child was to be able to literally pay you a visit, that little girl, what do you think her reaction would be to your life right now?
Oh my God, little Hailee would be gagging. I think she'd be like, wow. I think she would like be like, yo, you're fucking cool. Like she would, I think we would have a good time. I'd take her out to like the coolest little spots and get her nails done and like, treat her like a little princess. I think she'd love all of this and be enamored, and like it brings me so much joy to know that like that little girl and the teenage version of me too, who was like, with all the artsy fartsy kids in little old Smyrna, Tennessee, made it and made something of herself. And one of the things that when I get in my manifestation bag or if I'm out of my alignment and feel a little discouraged, I think the one thing that I really always keep with me is like, no one can take the fact that I am Broadway's Hailee Kaleem Wright. No one can take that away from me. I have done that for myself. And so anything else to come after that, because I was only 17 when I was wanting all of this stuff. And I thought it was going to take a lot longer. So now I was like, well, anything else is just like cherry on top. I've been really happy with what I've been making for myself.
I adore it. I love it. And I asked that question because I felt like I saw glimpses of her through you. I felt there was something that was so youthful and effervescent and fun and playful. And sure, it's the show and it's the chemistry, but I felt like, and once again, the manifesty witchy part of me, but I was like, I feel like, she's a grown woman and a little girl and a teenage girl and like all of the things, and they're all coincided. And I hope for you that this has been an opportunity to reparent those parts of you that maybe didn't get what they needed. It feels like you're supplying those parts of you with it now. And once again, that's beautiful to see, and I love that.
Yeah, thank you.
You are welcome. So just a few more questions. You know, what have you learned from Satine? Is there a cautionary tale? Is there a ooh girl, I would never do that now that I played it out? Or is there something empowering, like, oh, like I never saw it from that and I want to borrow that from you? And I mean, not just for Satine, but maybe like the characters in Six, Paradise Square. Do you take anything from these women, and do you learn anything from these women?
Definitely learn a lot about myself, I feel like, through these characters. And I think the power of playing, you know, different characters is so illuminating in your real life. You know, I had the opportunity to play in Paradise Square as a queer woman on stage in the 1800s, and they were, you know, helping on the Underground Railroad to harbor and keep runaways, and I did that with my wife in the show, and I was like the more male, you know, presenting character, and you know, that was such a beautiful opportunity for me to step further into my queerness and to be like, interesting, you know, like, okay, I see you, Hailee, like, okay, girl, you know, like, I'm having fun with this, you know?
Yeah.
And so, because I am so feminine, it was fun to play with that masculinity. And so, you know, I gravitated towards, you know, really infusing as much as I could of myself into that while still honoring the character. And then, you know, going into Six and her being the first queen and the one who kind of suffered a lot in silence for a very long time, and yet is often overlooked because she wasn't as flashy as the second wife or the fourth wife or whatever. And, you know, understanding that part of myself that's felt sometimes overlooked and not really understood in moments of my life. And then with Satine, it's like, I also understand being put on a pedestal that's not who you fully are, not really being seen for who you really are. And when you are seen for who you are, it's like, of course, the other shoe drops. Of course, I can't have it. You know, like I think we all can relate to that, you know, in some way. And so for me, I think I have a lot of empathy for Satine. I really have a lot of empathy for a person trying to be everything for everyone. You know, I think that's a valiant cause, but I don't know if it's always for the best.
It's healthy.
Yeah, and healthy specifically is the best word. You know, I do wonder if you know, consumption would have been her demise if she wasn't so stressed out trying to hold it all in and hold it all together for everybody else. So it's something that, you know, I have to take with me as Hailee. I have to really wash off a lot of my characters at the end of the day. One of my castmates, Shalina Kennedy, was like, every day after the show, she goes home, takes her shower, and then resets. And I was like, I kind of always took that. I come right in, I wash, and then I'm like, okay, I'm back to me, because your body manifesting proves and visualization proves that the body doesn't know and the mind doesn't know what's real and what's not real. And so playing someone who has an ailment like that, I really don't I take it very seriously that I release her at the end of the night because
we're not bringing that at home. No, as you should. I often think that theater is such a spiritual space because it really is. It can feel like you're painting your face in someone else's image. You're wearing someone else's hair, your costume, it can feel like an incantation to say the same words over and over. I think that there is a highly spiritual aspect to what you do and what actors do, especially in the theater and the Broadway space. Feels like very interesting ground. The superstitions, we have to leave the light on in the theater. That makes a lot of sense, especially playing a character that don't make it. You don't want to.
And I've seen some shit, man. I've seen some stuff where, like, you know, people play on stage and have fake ailments and think it's funny, and then they wind up really getting hurt. So I don't play. I don't play about that.
I love that. Do you have a dream role within the Broadway lexicon? Is there a show where you're like, ooh, I got to do that. I want to do that. I want to be that character.
I mean, there's There's definitely a few. I'll be honest. I feel like I have the answer, but I'm gonna keep it private because I want to protect that side of myself.
There. Tell me when we hang up.
Yeah, I will.
I think you would be I see you in Dreamgirls.
Oh.
I could see that. And I feel like you could totally be Dina.
Mm-hmm.
You could do Dina, or you could do Laurel. Either one. But I would like to see you as a supporter and a fan. I would love to see Hailee in Dreamgirls.
Ah, well, thank you.
Yes, I think that would be fun.
Revival coming in 2026.
Yes. Do you have a dream role that hasn't been written? Is there a person that you can inhabit that we haven't seen displayed yet?
Honestly, I feel like I have a deep love and connection to Aaliyah. Ooh. And I wish that, if the fates would have it, that her family would allow her story to be told with their help, with someone who has such an adoration for her in her life and the impact that she still has to this day after for over, what is it now, 20 years, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would deeply love to create a show for Aaliyah because I think that there's a lot more to know about her. And then aside from Aaliyah, I'm also gonna throw my hat in the ring for Miss Beyonce. I think that I just watched Matthew Knowles' interview with Carlos King today while I was dyeing my wigs, and and I really enjoyed hearing about his view and take on the business. And I think that just like we have MJ, I think at a certain point it would be really beautiful to have Beyonce on Broadway. And I know that would be a lot of red tape, but if it were to happen and I would still be young enough, I'd love to do it.
That would be incredible. I mean,
I have a good Beyonce impression.
Ooh, can you do it?
Hello, my name is Beyonce. I'm from Houston, Texas, and I want to welcome y'all to the Cowboy Couch Show. How about that? That wasn't very good.
I put you on the spot. I hear it though.
I have to listen to her a little bit more, but if I can listen for just a moment, then I can really start to slip into it, and then I'd be like, I don't know who is me. Afro Kitty, how you doing tonight? It goes between her personality on stage versus her personality backstage in interviews, because in interviews she's way more introspective than put on like right now. So anyways, I love her so much. I love it.
And what a lexicon of music, because you can go all the way through the Destiny's Child. I mean, that is so,
imagine seeing a little baby version of Girls Time.
Oh my God, that would be
losing Star Search.
Come on, Parkwood, hello, are you listening?
I'm just saying.
We have a good idea for you. I like this. That would be beautiful. Such an epic, that would be an epic show musically and story-wise. Great idea. My producer had us singing. So you are working on an EP, correct? Yeah. A release of, so you did a concert, State of the Artist. And what was that experience? Was that your first kind of showcasing just as Hailee?
Yeah.
Tell me about that experience and just more about that and the release of that.
It was so great. It was such a massive undertaking to produce my own concert. I had so many big ideas and I didn't know how the heck we were going to get it done. And it was thing after thing just kind of kept working out, and person after person just kept coming in at the perfect time to help. And what I realized more than anything was that I have good relationships with some really amazing people who are very, very talented. And I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to kind of delegate a little bit more this go around. I've done concerts in the city, but I hadn't done anything like this, and I hadn't done one with a full band and track and dancers and background singers and my own venue and you know, having a bar minimum, honey, and like, you know, like all these things, these business things that you have to go to. And then, you know, we wrote a script, me and my good friend Alex Cruz, we wrote a script together, and you know, we had a whole story that, you know, helped service why I was singing the songs when I was singing them. And I think that's the beautiful part in the artist development process of being on Broadway, is that it's only edified and uplifted my storytelling as a music artist. So it was a labor of love, and it was scary. God, it was so scary, but it was so fulfilling that day. And so what's beautiful is that we have the live recording from the night, and you hear that joy. You hear I cut a lot of the script stuff out just because I want to do the show again, and so I want it to be some surprises and the next audience. But yeah, it was an amazing time to do my songs live for the first time, you know, and these singles that I dropped. I started dropping music in 2020, like officially after my last after my record deal. And so in 2020 I dropped my first single, Body Language, and so we got to do that song all the way up to a song that's coming out next month that hasn't been released yet, and I got to test that on the audience, and damn, they were rocking with it. It was so cool. I have to send it to you. It's real cute. It's cute. Okay. And, yeah, so it was just a labor of love, and I'm so excited to release the EP. There'll be some visuals a little bit with it too, and yeah, I'm a small empire, but I'm building nonetheless.
I love it. And you also have a new parody musical coming out.
Yeah.
Based off of Stephen King's novel, and I guess the movie with Sissy Spacek, Carrie. But somehow Mariah Carey is also.
Yes,
tell me about this. This sounds very festive and interesting.
Yes.
I'm a cat, so I can't be a lamb, but I love me some Mariah.
Well, you can be a butterfly if you like.
Yes.
And don't look at my nails in that, y'all. Don't zoom in. I just popped these off on the train. But anyways, I'm a press-on queen. But I am so excited to do Carrie, The Emancipation of Mimi, which is a parody musical. Think Titanic, you know, if you've seen that, or if people saw 5, which was a parody of 6, which I got to see. It was really funny. And you know, we're giving mystery, darling. We're giving mystery moments, but we really are. It's a love letter to Mariah and all of her, you know, valiant achievements that she's made, while also honoring and keeping to the story of Carrie as people know it. And so it's quite a genius mashup that my friend Alex Cruz, who I just mentioned, helped me with, Stand the Artist. He wrote this, and we have the help of another amazing team of creatives who are working on this. And I've had this since the first read through, which we did. I didn't even play Carrie White the first time, who I play in the show, but on the table for the first table read where I played Carrie, and it's my name with like the bloody, you know, stuff. And he made that, and I just kept it on my mantle here at the theater ever since. So
that's so exciting. When does it go up? It's here in New York, right?
It's at the Laurie Beachman Theater, which is like on 42nd and in between 9th and 10th, or excuse me, 8th and 9th. And it has 3 performances, and we start on the 26th, Sunday, the 10th, October 26th, and have a show the 29th, 30th, 31st. And that will be Halloween. So if you want to give a little Afro Kitty moment, or you want to give an Afro Kitty purr with a little something else, honey, you can come through on Halloween, twirl, have a good time. It's 75 minutes. It's an abbreviated version for the Laurie Beachman, because they like to keep it brief over there, honey, little moments, but it's still just as funny. We just did our first read through 2 days ago, and even without the music, we were cackling, and with the music and all the silliness, like it's fun. It's a fun time.
That's so exciting. Let's close this out on, we've been talking about manifestation. So let's manifest something together. Something lovely and wonderful. So I'm going to ask you, what are you, past this moment, we're living dreams, we're doing beautiful things, we're living a good life. what else are you dreaming of? What is the next level that you would like to manifest? Let's say we talk this time next year.
For me, I'm really understanding that I am a producer and I'm a creator. And so I think that next time this year, we will just be continuing to talk about things that I'm making and that I'm very proud of, and being more in the driver's seat of my career as an artist.
I love that. So we're going to manifest more producing, more autonomy over the things that we do, and setting things off in a productive way.
Yeah, and balance, you know, having both, having my, you know, Broadway show moments and my Tony's award-winning moments and my, you know, being a diva moments, while still working on the things that are passionate, you know, passion projects for me, or you know, opportunities for me to show other sides of myself. I think that's a big part of me in this position, as, you know, Moulin Rouge is so beautifully provided. It's like I was able to make that concert while being on Broadway, you know, like even make an EP while being on Broadway. So it's just proof that I can do two things at once, and that's
do it all.
Yeah.
You can do it all. You can have it all. I am so, you know, I'm really, really proud of you. I just want to name that and say that while we're face to face. It feels so wonderful to see a person grow and like just evolve and live their dreams, and it feels like you have been putting in the work and it's paying off. But I also see that there's a continued labor that is both like spiritual and personal, but also like you're putting the work in to be good at what you do. You know, like you're in good voice when you're on that stage, you're hitting your mark, you're looking good, and that means a lot. You represent us so well as a Black person, as a queer person, and we need, you are I don't really do the whole role model thing because we got to live our lives, but I think that you're a wonderful possibility model.
Thank you.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Mwah. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Boo.
You're welcome. Let me stop recording.